The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hello, America. Hello, world. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you. Hey, grab a seat because today I'm going to dive deep into one of the most important developments in American justice that you're ever going to want to hear. Most of you know that the United States Department of Justice has officially opened a criminal investigation into E. Jean Carroll for potential perjury. You know that beauty. Remember her? She's a real looker, that one. E. Jean Carroll. Woo, boy. Well, it's not a rumor. It's not speculation. It's not partisan chatter. It's real. This is real life. Make sure that you share, like, and subscribe to this program as well, ladies and gentlemen. Head over to dougbillings.us after you watch this episode. Prayerfully consider contributing to the program over there. So we know the reports. We've seen them. We've read them. Everything from what they've said on Fox and on CNN to the New York Times. It all confirms that federal prosecutors are examining whether Carroll lied under oath in 2022 in her deposition when she stated that nobody else was paying for her legal fees. Interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment that so many of us have waited for, the moment when the radical left's favorite weapon begins to turn against them. For years, they've used the courts, friendly donors, coordinated media to smear and to silence conservative voices instead of winning arguments at the ballot box or in a debate in the public square. This show itself was canceled off of YouTube once upon a time. We're back now. They've apologized for making the mistake, but we were only canceled because we're conservative. So the strategy that is facing, real accountability in America, the one that the American people are watching closely, this story is bigger than just one case, by the way. It's not just about E. Jean Carroll. It's about restoring faith that no one, not billionaires, not activists, not anybody, is above the law. And it brings real hope, not hopium, hope, real hope, that the end of the era of weaponized justice, otherwise known as lawfare, is coming to an end. So let me lay out for you exactly what we know with the facts as they stand right here, right now. And just to remind ourselves of the obviousness of her fake story, let me show you a 32-second clip from 2022 when she appeared with Anderson Cooper on CNN. Now, see if you don't think that her entire demeanor here is, awkward, it's forced, it's fake. And notice how she blatantly flirts with Anderson Cooper at the end of this clip. Take a look.
Like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
So, folks, that's creepy. It's fake BS, Barbara Streisand, and it is obvious to all of us. So let's lay out what we know, okay? That was a creepy, I know, you can't unsee that. But it just goes to show you that, and just a side note, what we feel when we watch that is, how dare she? How dare she lie and fake her way through this? Because what that does is put real women and real victims at a disadvantage. So in her 2022 videotaped deposition, E. Jean Carroll told then attorney Alina Habba that she received no outside funding for her civil lawsuits against President Trump. Now, right then and there, I knew, really? I didn't think she's not uber wealthy, E. Jean Carroll. She's not getting any help paying for her legal expenses in this. So remember, just weeks before her very first trial, her own lawyers had to disclose to the court that a nonprofit organization linked to the billionaire Reid Hoffman. Now, Reid Hoffman is one of the co-founders of LinkedIn, so go over there and give him holy hell about all of this. Reid Hoffman has been a vocal critic of the conservative President Trump leadership, pro-America, America First, MAGA, all of it. And he's quietly covered a substantial portion of E.G. Carroll's legal fees, as it turns out. Reid Hoffman isn't some neutral figure, ladies and gentlemen. He's poured millions of dollars into efforts to defeat Trump and the America First, MAGA priorities. When that funding was finally revealed, Carroll's team claimed that she had simply forgotten about it. Oh, it must have just slipped her mind. All of these legal bills, how am I going to pay for it? How am I going to pay for it? Don't worry, we got Reid Hoffman, the millionaire, billionaire. You know, she's not going to forget that. So the judge allowed a follow-up deposition, but ultimately the judge blocked questions about the funding from reaching the jury in those first few trials that we saw some years ago. Now, in present day, federal prosecutors in the Northern District of Illinois, not New York, got to note that, they're investigating that sworn statement as potential perjury. Now, why Chicago? Why Northern Illinois? Because Hoffman's nonprofit is based there. They're going to go after Hoffman as well. Mark my words. So this choice of a venue shows that the probe is being handled professionally and at an arm's length, because acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was involved in some of those early appeals about this case, has wisely recused himself from the matter because he, as I said, represented Trump on appeals. So career prosecutors are running this out of the Deputy Attorney General's office. No charges have been filed yet, but the mere fact that the Department of Justice is treating this seriously sends a powerful message. The message is the days of secret donor-funded lawfare operating with impunity are over. They're coming to a close. And you all, let's connect the dots so that you can see the full picture here. E.G. Carroll brought 2 civil cases against President Trump. The first resulted in a $5 million judgment for sexual abuse and defamation, okay? Hang on. The second one added another $83 million for defamation of character. Now, those cases rested on an allegation from the mid-1990s that surfaced multiple decades later. And the allegations had no contemporaneous police reports with it, no witnesses, a statute of limitations that was expired, but the New York legislatures conveniently voted to extend the statute of limitations specifically to allow this suit to continue. Now, the timing, the funding, the selective memory, it all fits the pattern that we've seen before. This is textbook weaponization. Lawfare, my friends. Textbook. The radical commu-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party machine, didn't just sue, Donald Trump. They manufactured momentum through coordinated attacks. You get a high-profile accuser, secret billionaire banking and backing financially, friendly jurisdictions, media amplification that was designed only to dominate the headlines and bankrupt President Trump through legal fees. That was their goal. The goal was never just money for E. Jean Carroll. It was political destruction of Donald Trump. Now, here's what the left never counted on. It turns out you good people, the American people, you're not fools. You see the pattern. And you remember the Russia collusion hoax, the impeachments timed for election season, the endless civil suits designed to tie up President Trump's leadership. You see through all of it. And every time, the same small network of donors, nonprofits, and activist lawyers appear behind the scenes. Reid Hoffman's involvement here fits that exact template. And now that template is under federal scrutiny. Ladies and gentlemen, this probe is already having ripple effects way beyond the courtroom. Independent voters in swing states, for example, are telling pollsters that they're absolutely exhausted, tired, sick of another manufactured scandal. Grassroots conservatives throughout the country, everywhere between the two shining seashores, say that a surge in volunteer energy is absolutely blowing up because people finally see the system working the way that it was intended to work, with evidence, not with theater, not with narrative, not with false accusations. And when citizens watch a high-profile false accusation machine begin to face real questions, to trust in institutions starts to be rebuilt. Now, I know that it's baby steps. don't trust our institutions automatically overnight. But when these things happen, when the system finally has the right, honest, law-abiding people in place that pursue truth and real justice, it does restore our trust in the institutions bit by bit. So, all right, now, the trust that is gaining for us, that's electoral gold as we head into the 2026 midterms. Newt Gingrich, on another side note, just this morning was saying he's predicting one of the largest Republican wins in an off-year midterm election in the history of the Republic. Think about the broader pattern, though, that this all exposes with regards to lawfare. For more than a decade, the radical left has treated the justice system like it's some sort of a private arsenal for them. They timed indictments for maximum political damage. They funded civil suits to bleed their opponents dry. Not just the president, but people like Roger Stone, Peter Navarro, Trump's family, General Michael Flynn, et cetera, et cetera. They counted on friendly judges to shield them and their funding trails. But the Carroll case was always one of the most glaring examples because so many ordinary Americans just looked at her, listened to her, saw her, and smelled something fishy from the very beginning. Now the Department of Justice is asking the hard questions that the original courtrooms wouldn't allow. So behind the scenes, the desperation on the other side and the radical liberal left, it's palpable. Their media allies, they're already spinning all of this as retaliation, when in actuality, it's accountability. They never seem to be bothered when the intimidation flowed in the other direction toward us, but the facts don't lie. A sworn deposition statement contradicted by later court filings, a billionaire donor with a clear political agenda, and a case that relied on secrecy until the secrecy became impossible to maintain. So look, my friends, that's exactly why proud conservatism has always prevailed in the long run, because we don't need secret funding. We don't need manufactured narratives over here. We win with ideas that work. Secure borders, law and order, morality, traditional American values, faith in God, energy dependence, and equal justice under the law, just to name a few. When the lawfare machine starts to crumble, it doesn't leave a vacuum either. It creates space for the timeless principles that built this republic to reassert themselves. Families can raise their children without fear of political retribution. You can actually attend a school board and speak your mind without being labeled a domestic terrorist. You can actually be a Catholic and stand peacefully outside of an abortion clinic with a sign and advocate for life without being locked up. Businesses can invest without the threat of selective prosecution. And citizens in general can participate in self-government knowing that the courtroom for truth is there. It's not a courtroom for theater any longer. So you get it. I know that you do, because you're the members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of Radioland. This investigation is still in its early stages. I get it, but its existence nonetheless is a victory for every American who believes the system can still work. And it vindicates the millions of us who saw through the original story from day one. And it strengthens the conservative movement's argument that accountability has to apply to everyone. The most important thing maybe out of all of this is that it offers real, grounded hope that the era of unchecked lawfare is coming to an end. And it's coming to an end not because of revenge. We don't do this through retribution. Conservatives don't believe in revenge and retribution. It's contrary to what we believe in. We believe in real justice, steady, principled application of the rule of law. So don't, give yourself permission to ignore and disassociate from people who are out there saying, we want retribution, we want revenge. BS, Barbara Streisand. No, we don't. We want a steady, principled application of the rule of law. Proud conservatism has always been about restoring what the founders intended. Equal justice, not equal justice except when it's inconvenient to the left, by the way. And today's development in the E. Jean Carroll case proves that the pendulum is swinging back in our direction. The house of cards of the radical left is falling, one perjured statement at a time. and a stronger, more trustworthy America is rising in its place. Everything that they've thrown at President Trump has fallen away, been thrown out, discharged, or overruled because it's all fake, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you thirsty to see the arrests of the people in tier 1 positions in this country, that's coming. But it comes with the process of time. The reason we saw the radical left throw so much at President Trump and his inner circle was because they were throwing fiction at everybody. They weren't taking the time to throw real charges at Trump and his family and his inner circle. That's why we saw it happen so fast. It was all fake. It was all phony. It's easy to throw fiction out there, see where it lands, see if we can make something stick. But it takes years, literally, to create a case that is appeals proof and that bears the fruit of convictions that last. So that's why this thing is taking time. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, if you want more hard-hitting analysis that you can't find anywhere else, hit that subscribe button, follow, give this video a thumbs up, comment, share it with a friend, drop your thoughts down there in the comments. I read almost every one of them. What does this whole perjury probe mean for the future of fair elections and honest courts in America? Let me know below. Part of the beauty of conservatism is that it allows us to enter into the lives of others to make differences for the better, my friends. That's part of the definition of the meaning of life. I know that you, as the most intellectually mature audience in all of Radioland, enter into my life at key moments. You make differences for the better just because I get to be with you in moments like this on this program. And I hope that myself and this show can enter into your life to make a significant difference for the better with regards to truth and the real state of play in America. That's what I mean, the meaning of life. Head over to DougBillings.us, ladies and gentlemen. Prayerfully consider contributing to the program over there. We're in this thing together. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.